Welcome to the Thornton Review, the show designed with you in mind. If it's important to you, it's important to us. Robert Bender is currently the Escambia County Supervisor of Elections. Robert grew up in Pensacola, Florida. He received his bachelor's degree in business administration from Rhodes College and MBA from Goizueta Business School at Emory University. Robert was elected as the Escambia County Commission District 4 representative in 2018 and again in 2022. During that time, he obtained Certified County Commission and Advanced County Commissioner 1 and 2 certificates. In 2024, Robert was appointed as the Escambia County Supervisor of Elections by Governor DeSantis and was elected to the position that very same year. Since then, he has obtained his Florida Certified Election Professional certification. Hi, I'm Pueschel Schneier, Executive Producer and Manager of the Thornton Review. Thank you for tuning in. On today's show, we have Robert Bender. He is Escambia County Supervisor of Elections. So, Robert, we have an election coming up, and I thought it would be a great time to invite you on the show to explain it to us. But will you please introduce yourself first, and then we'll have a commercial break, and then I've got a slew of questions for you when we come back.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Of course, we want to get everybody out to vote August 18th election, but I'm Robert Bender. I'm the Escambia County Supervisor of Elections since January of 2024. This is my 7th election as supervisor, and I know that we'll have a successful one. We want to make sure that we have safe, secure, accurate elections, and so I've received my master in certification of the Florida Supervisor of Elections, and really just looking forward to serving the people and making sure that their voice is their vote and that their voice is heard.
We appreciate that. So we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll begin our discussion with Robert Bender, Escambia County Supervisor of Elections. There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that. Gary Sapp Automotive offers diagnostic maintenance and repairs for cars, trucks, and RVs. With over 20 years of experience, their technicians are ASE certified, emphasizing honesty and customer satisfaction. Gary Sapp Automotive, located at 6806 Pine Forest Road in Pensacola, and on the web at garysapp.net. Military discounts. Vinyl fence, wood fence, aluminum fence, chain link fence. If it has the word fence, Alpha Fence Company can do it. 850-586-8020. 850-586-8020.
Hi, I'm Robert Bender, Escambia County Supervisor of Elections. Make sure you turn into the Thornton Review to learn all about the August 18th election and making sure that your voice is heard by voting.
Thank you for tuning in. We're going to begin our discussion with Robert Bender. He is Escambia County Supervisor of Elections. We have a primary election coming up in the midterms. So it's a great time to have you on so you can explain the entire process. But I want to start with the different ways to vote. So can you explain, there's 3 different ways to vote. Can you explain those ways and explain, then I want to get into voter registration.
Perfect. Yeah, so in Florida, there are 3 different ways to vote. It's your choice on how you want to vote. The first is what we call is vote by mail. You don't have to have a an excuse. This used to be absentee, so when I was in college, I have to say yes, I'm away at college, and make that request now. You do have to make that request every election cycle. So after the November election, that request will be wiped clean. But right now, for the primary, you can go ahead and request it for the August election and the November election for the year, and then you'd have to renew that request after November.
Can you request online, or do you have to go into the office?
You can request online. You can
you
fill
call?
out the statewide form. You can call. You can come by the office. And when you call or send us an email, fill out that form. We're going to either need your driver's license or the last four of your Social Security. So if you think about it, I like to say that Florida checks it on the front end before we even send you the ballot, right? We're having you verify your identity.
Sure.
And then we'll
Thank
send
you
the
for
ballot.
that, by
Yes,
the
I
way.
think, again, I think that's where the legislature has done things to add security around vote by mail. Is that you can't just call and say, "Hey, I'd like a vote by mail." You have to give that unique identifier, that personal information. We check that in our system, and then we send out the ballot. And then, of course, when it comes back in, we verify the signature against what we have on record. So. Again, doing some security on the front end and the back end, but
So the signature that you have on record, is that something that you have on paper that they have gone into the office and done?
so usually it's however they registered. It's
Okay.
usually a registration. So for a lot of people, that's through the DHSMV, what's on your driver's license.
Okay.
And so if your signature has changed or anything like that, maybe look at what your ID has, and it would probably be on there at some point. But the other thing is that we do have a process that if your signature doesn't match, you're able to do a cure affidavit. We notify you and let you know your signature doesn't match. Send you the form to fill out. We'll also mail it to you, and you have until 5 p.m. on the Thursday after the election to get that back to us to make sure that vote counts. So, again, I think Florida's taking the correct steps in order to allow somebody to cure their ballot if their signature doesn't match. If the voter wants to update their signature prior to voting, and then that way it's on that record when the vote by mail comes back, they can do that. So.
Or to update any information,
Update any
like
information,
marital
right.
status or address or something.
Not as concerned about marital status,
Okay.
but again, if they moved, we definitely want to make sure
Or
that
name would.
Name change,
That's what I
right.
meant
Yeah,
for.
okay, yes,
Yeah, marital.
yes.
Yeah.
And so sorry about that.
No, I didn't explain. But yeah, I was
yeah.
thinking name change because
Sure.
if
And
somebody
that's
gets married,
important.
they're going to change
Right.
their name.
Because again, we want to have that name match when they come in, and if not, they can always make that change when they get to an early vote site or on election day. But for vote by mail, they can get that in.
That's great. Yeah, it used to be absentee ballot.
It
I
used to
remember
be
that.
absentee, yes, and so really in the early 2000s,
It was for military people overseas mainly.
right, and college students that were
Yeah.
away and things like that. So yes, it's just gone to vote by mail as opposed to absentee to voting.
So, okay, if somebody is not registered to vote, but they want to vote in this election, what do they do?
So the registration and party change deadline for the August 18th election was July 20th. So it's too late to register for this election. If they are moving from another county within Florida and they're already registered in Florida, that's okay. We can process that because
Okay.
we really want to make sure, again, just if you've moved across town, we want to make sure that we have your correct address so that you have the right ballot style. With being a closed primary state, with having single member districts in county commission and having 2 House district members here in Escambia County, we want to make sure that you're only voting for the races that you're eligible to vote for based on your current residency.
Okay.
And so that's important to keep that information updated. And then, but we can update that. So it's too late to register now. You can go ahead, if you're not registered, you can go ahead and send it in. We can go ahead and get it processed and ready for November, but too late for the August 18th election to change your party. Now, again, if you are a member of a certain party, as I said, Florida has closed primaries, and so you're only eligible to vote for the races in which you're a member of that party. But then we also have a number of nonpartisan races. I know we'll get into what's going to be on your ballot a little bit later on. But again, in Escambia County for this election cycle, there will be a ballot for everyone to vote regardless of party. And then when we go to November, everybody in that precinct gets the same ballot style. So we don't have different ballots. We just have one ballot style that has everybody listed, and then you get to vote for the candidate on there.
Okay, so obviously if an 18-year-old has not registered to vote yet, they've never been registered before, then obviously it's too late for this, but they can register, they just can't vote in this primary election, but they can vote in the general in November. But if somebody was, say, registered to vote in a different state and moves here to Florida, can they register and vote in this primary? Because they haven't lived here and
haven't
the
lived here,
deadline was
right. So-
July 20th. Okay,
And
that makes sense.
So one of the great things that we do is if you're 16, you can pre-register. So that way, if you did fall in that 29-day window before the election, you turned 18, and you say, oh, I'm in that window where I can't register. You can pre-register, and again, we have a lot of kids that have already done this. Usually, again, when they get their driver's license, they go ahead and pre-register, and when they turn 18, we automatically send them their voter information card and say, congratulations, you're registered to vote, and they are eligible to vote as soon as they turn 18 if you do that pre-registration. So again, I think we're doing a good job of getting that younger generation registered to vote as they turn 18.
Okay, so when are the mail-in ballots going to be mailed out?
Okay. So vote by mail ballots have gone out.
Okay.
We for
All of them?
everyone who's requested them have gone out.
Is the request deadline ended?
The request deadline is August 6th at 5 p.m.
Okay, so the request for the mail-in ballots the deadline is August 6th
Yes.
at 5 p.m. Okay,
Right.
so people can still do
You
that.
can still do that. From the time we get your request, we have 48 hours to get that ballot out. So 2 days essentially
Okay.
to get that ballot out. So we turn them around quickly, get them out, and then if you find yourself after August 6th, you can come by the office and do an emergency affidavit to pick up the ballot, but that's just the deadline for us to mail them out. Also, we'll have early voting. You know, that second way to vote is August 8th to August 15th. We'll have 10 locations around Escambia County open 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. You can go to any one of the 10. And then we'll have Election Day on August 18th. But also, to return your ballot, a couple things you need to remember is that one, we do have secure ballot intake stations at the 10 early vote locations during the hours that they're open that you can just pull up, walk up, and drop the ballot in there. And then my office downtown, Supervisor of Elections office, we have a secure ballot intake station available during our normal business hours. And then, of course, on Election Day, we'll be open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can bring your vote by mail ballot there, but your precinct will not accept them on Election Day. So it's important that if you do go to your precinct, you will be able to surrender that ballot and get a new ballot to vote. But some of our security enhancements is that vote by mail ballots can't go into a tabulator at an early vote or Election Day site. And so it's great security for that. But
So now what is the deadline to mail back that ballot?
So great, yes. So for the primary, doesn't matter if you're military overseas, citizens overseas, we have to have your ballot in our possession by 7 p.m. on election night. There is
August
no
18th.
10-day for our military or those overseas.
Okay.
But again, for everyone locally and for those overseas, 7 p.m. election night has to be in our possession. Again, you can bring it by our office on election day. If you go by your precinct on election day, you can just vote. You can give them your ballot. And I know we'll get into some of those other things later on about security and things like that.
Okay, so now when is Election Day?
August 18th.
Okay, so it's August 18th.
August 18th.
And that's going to decide the primary election. So it's basically a runoff.
Yes and no. So one is that there are things on the ballot right now, and I'm calling it the August 18th election. It is a primary for certain races, but in other races, you're making final decisions. So there are races that will be on the August 18th ballot.
Because they're nonpartisan.
They're nonpartisan.
offices.
You have a countywide referendum. That will not move on to November. So this is your only opportunity to have your voice be heard on that subject. And then we'll have either, as you say, the runoff. So whoever, there aren't necessarily runoffs in the terms of, there could be for the mayor.
For mayor.
For mayor, if nobody gets 50%, then the
And
top
school
two
board.
would go.
School board.
School board, we only have 2 members in each of those races. So we expect somebody to win outright in the August 18th election. So they won't go on. But again, your mayor, that would be more of a runoff because you had more than 2 in that. But your city council, though, they went straight to the November election because there were only 2 people in each of those races.
Okay, so what can we expect to see on our ballot? Like what offices are up for election and what districts? Because I know they're staggered. Not every single district is up for election at this time.
So let's talk about turnout a little bit because I think this will lead into that. So in the 2024 primary, 75% of the voters did not vote in the primary. And there just wasn't a lot on that ballot on top of ticket.
In 2024,
In
you're saying?
2024,
Okay.
right? So just under 25% turnout.
Yeah, because we weren't voting for governor, probably.
Right, and president was the presidential preference primary. So
Yeah.
again, we didn't have a lot on there. But I'll tell you, so Republicans, Democrats, they both have senator, U.S. senator. They both have governor and lieutenant governor, and on that you'll see that's the headline. That is the title of the race. But only vote for one in those. Even though it says governor and lieutenant governor, only one Democratic candidate actually had their lieutenant governor named at the time that we went to print. And so he does have his lieutenant governor on there. But we've gotten calls, people saying, hey, there's no oval next to her name. Well, that's because she's the lieutenant governor. So if you're voting for governor and lieutenant governor, only vote for one choice in that race. Yeah. Right? You don't get to pick the governor and the lieutenant governor. You're picking the governor. They just haven't named their lieutenant governor yet. So so only vote for one. If you vote for two, that's going to be an overvote, and the vote won't count for either one of them. So that's important on governor and lieutenant governor. We also have the CFO. Again, Republicans, Democrats will both have a race there, and also the Commissioner of Agriculture. So there's four items at the top of the ticket
that are
for
statewide
races or statewide races, and then the Republicans additionally have congressional district is a primary. We have House District 2 as a primary, and then County Commission District 2. And then in addition to those, everybody in Escambia County will have the countywide referendum on elected or appointed superintendent. County Commission Districts 1, 2, and 3, or School Board Districts 1, 2, and 3 will have those school board races. Again, those are nonpartisan, so everybody in those districts will be eligible to vote on those. And again, there's only 2 people in each of those races, so we expect those to be settled. Those will be settled in this election, August 18th. And then we have the mayor's race. So everybody in the city of Pensacola can vote for the mayor. 4 years ago, Mayor Reeves did get over 50% of the vote in the August election. It was deemed elected. So if people were waiting until November to vote for the mayor, they never got the chance to do it. So that's why we really want to encourage people to come out and vote, because, again, final decisions can be made in this election. And if you want your voice to be heard, you need to vote in August.
Absolutely. So are both state house districts up this District 1 and District 2?
So
they're not staggered, are they?
No, District 1, District 2 are 2-year terms, so those are both be up on the November ballot. It's just that in House District 1, there was only one Republican and one Democrat that had filed, and I think there might be a write-in or something like that. Don't hold me to that one yet. But same thing with House District 2. There's also a Democrat to face the winner of the Republican primary in November.
Okay. So for county elections, we have districts 2 and 4 up.
Correct.
How do you know what district you live in?
Sure. So one, we'll say that we have our sample ballots are being mailed today through the end of the week. So we'll have those, and so everybody will have their sample ballot mailed to them if they do not have a vote by mail request on file, or if they have not asked to receive the sample ballot by email. Easiest really thing to do is go to Am I Registered on our website, escambiavotes.gov. Scroll down about 3/4 of the page. It says Am I Registered? You type in your name and your date of birth, and it gives you a lot of information right there at your fingertips. So one, it'll tell you what party you're registered. It'll have a link to a sample ballot. It'll tell you where you're supposed to vote on election day. It'll tell you if you have a vote by mail request on file, and then you can also track your vote by mail ballot through that link. But then you can also see, I think it says something like view office holders, and then you can go and look and see who your office holders are. It'll have everybody from governor and senator, but at the bottom is where you get into those districts. So it'll District 4, District 3, what city district you live in, things like that you can view on that.
And it'll tell you where to vote, what address to go vote if you want to do it in person.
Yeah, and if I may real quick, so we did have a number of locations that have changed for the 2026 election cycle. Some of them are permanent, and each of those voters in those precincts have gotten new voter information cards with the new information about their precinct. And so we're notifying everybody. We also, on their sample ballots, added a little bit new location for 2026, things like that. We also have 2 temporary locations. That's Precinct 14 and Precinct 70. Those each voter in those locations will each get a letter sent to them reminding them that they have a temporary location for this year, and they'll get that letter before each election. And so the Fricker Center 14 will be at the main library downtown, and then Precinct 70 will join Precinct 110 at the Gathering Place at Pensacola Christian College.
Okay. So there are poll watchers and poll workers. Can you explain what a poll watcher is and what they do, if they get paid, how many hours a week it would be, and a poll watcher, like a worker,
Yeah.
but poll watcher versus poll worker.
So I'll start with election worker because those are the ones that work for me. And these are the smiling faces that you see when you go into your early vote site or on your precinct on election
That's
day.
got to just be a great job.
Well, I think
I would love doing that.
It is
if I had time.
Yeah, if you had time. Okay. But one is it's very satisfying to give back to your community and be a part of civically minded and but of course we always make sure we have party balances, that it's different parties that are there because if a voter has a question or needs assistance, you can with members from two different parties assist them because we're apolitical in that, right? You know, we're not here to again, if you question them on who to vote for, they're not going to be able to answer you.
Right.
They may tell you to go phone a friend or something like that. Maybe look it up on your phone on who you want to vote for. We can't help you with that, but we are there to assist to make sure that you can vote. And they are, we give them a stipend. It is not a lot, but they have to train before every election. They're long hours at 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. usually because they have to be there before the polls open at 7 a.m. until after they close at 7 p.m. Right. But again, as I say, that not only are they there to represent me, they're there to represent the members of their community. They're making sure they're my eyes and ears, but again, they can see what's going on, and they help provide having a safe, secure, accurate election. In Escambia County, we'll have over 600 election workers for these elections this year. So again, we do pay them a little bit. Election watchers are nominated by the party or a candidate or an issue to go in and observe. And again, transparency is part of election integrity. So to have them there, they can observe, they can interact with the clerk, they cannot interact with voters or anything like that. But again, so we get that list of the poll watchers from a party or candidate.
Awesome. So are poll workers, do they work at your office year round, or they're just hired temporarily for each election?
So the election workers are just hired temporarily. They just typically work election day. Again, we have some that will work early vote. And that's so a lot of them have other jobs in the community and things like that.
Right.
But no, we give them that training. We're somewhat wrapping up training for the August election right now.
Okay.
But we have some new equipment. You know, sometimes the state will give us new procedures that we need to make sure we update them on. You know, highlight some things that maybe we could improve on. I like to say that election day is almost like organized chaos for them.
Right.
And so, you know, how they can get through that, but ultimately make sure that voters have a pleasant experience and that they can cast their vote.
Well, I appreciate all that explanation. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to get into election integrity, which I'm sure everybody wants to know how secure and safe our elections are.
Perfect.
And I bet under you they're very safe. So, the Thornton Review is a civic engagement show with a purpose to spread awareness by interviewing elected officials, candidates, and professional leaders. This is information you won't get anywhere else. So we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Robert Bender, Escambia County Supervisor of Elections. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button right now. Be sure to like the video and hit the notification bell so you never miss a great guest. We provide this content as a public service, and it helps our channel when you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. You can watch us at our YouTube channel, The Thornton Review, at The Thornton Review 7810, our website, thethorntonreview.com. On Vimeo, please follow The Thornton Review. Please like our Facebook page, The Thornton Review Show, on TV, WBQP Channel 12, and WBQP on Roku and Fire Stick. Gary Sapp Automotive offers diagnostic maintenance and repairs for cars, trucks, and RVs. With over 20 years of experience, their technicians are ASE certified, emphasizing honesty and customer satisfaction. Gary Sapp Automotive, located at 6806 Pine Forest Road in Pensacola, and on the web at garysapp.net. is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that. Company can install any type of fence. When you call and mention the Thornton Review, you'll receive a $100 discount on your fence. They also offer military discounts. Vinyl fence, wood fence, aluminum fence, chain link fence. If it has the word fence, Alpha Fence Company can do it. 850-586-8020. 850-586-8020.
Hi, I'm Robert Bender, Escambia County Supervisor Elections. Make sure you turn into the Thornton Review to learn all about the August 18th election and making sure that your voice is heard by voting.
Thank you for tuning in. We're going to continue our discussion with Robert Bender, Escambia County Supervisor of Elections. So I'd like to talk about election integrity. That's just a huge subject, here in Escambia County and, of course, across America, because people want to know that their elections are secure and that there's no election fraud going on, especially within your office.
Sure.
That would just be, a huge, terrible thing if if it wasn't. You're not going to embarrass yourself or our community. You're going to hold it to a high standard and make sure that everything is done the way it should be done.
Yes, and that's honestly that's what I love about my job. Right, I don't have to argue about doing the right thing.
Right.
We just do it. So of course, number one, I don't want to bring any disgrace to the office that I'm taking care of while I have the opportunity to serve the people of Escambia County. But two is we have strength in running safe, accurate, secure elections in Florida.
And Escambia County is known for that.
I think they are too. But the other thing is that I'm one of the 67 representing Florida, and so we don't want to give Florida a black eye either. Again, we have I think really excelled in our elections since 2000. We've having the legislator that does things, like I said, adding additional security around vote by mail is important. And then the processes that we have, whether it be voter maintenance, we've continued to improve those processes. Or, right now I think Escambia only has about 2% more registered voters than we did in 2010. And again, we're working those as we work our again voter maintenance, and you don't see us having the same issues that other states are having.
So how long does somebody have to not vote before they're taken off the voter rolls?
So now it's 2 election cycles.
2.
And before we would send you a letter and say, hey, we haven't heard from you in a while. What do you want to do?
So that's 8 years, basically. 2 election cycles.
4 years.
Is 4 years.
So
Okay.
4 years. So,
okay.
So if they miss a governor and a presidential election cycle, then we would send them something to just say, hey, are you still there? Now they need to actually respond to us. Before, if they didn't respond, there was nothing we did. But again, that changed in 2023. Again,
right.
Recognize the legislator for giving us the ability to actually do something when somebody doesn't respond to something where they haven't heard anything for a while. But it moves them from an active registered voter to an inactive registered voter, and then they remain there for 2 more election cycles. So again, if somebody was moved to inactive in 2020 after the 2022 election, they have the 2024 election. They can either request a vote by mail, vote, or update your registration. But if they don't do that in 2024 or after the 2026 election, then they finally get purged and go from an active registered voter to just being purged from the voter list. So again, I think we have a number of years for somebody to before they're finally purged from the voter list. We had 1,000 voters show up that were on that inactive list in 2024 that became active again by voting. And so they confirmed their address, make sure that they're still residents of Escambia County, that they're getting the right ballot. We give them the ballot, let them vote. So it really is that easy. And again, we don't have, I think, a lot of issue of the purging of voter rolls, but we do maintain those. And so we get, I really think that our voter rolls are as clean as they've ever been, not because somebody wasn't doing their job before me.
Sure.
Make that clear.
Right.
It's just that we have more tools in the toolbox. You know, now we have the state sending us names of voters who have returned their driver's licenses in other states. Now, again, you have military that may need a new driver's license, and so it doesn't mean that we automatically remove them. It gives us an opportunity to contact the voter. We now use the SAVE database to verify citizenship. We have the death records that we get from the state and things like that to process. We have the felon files that are coming over from the clerk's office, and so we have a lot of different tools that we have to maintain our voter database and make it as accurate as possible.
So how hard would it be for somebody, or easy, I don't know, would it be for somebody who is like temporarily living in another state, like say a student is living in another state to go to college, and they have a residence there, but their permanent residence is still here and they're still registered to vote here. Can they register to vote in another state, and
So it's really
would they be caught? I
Yeah,
guess.
so it's really where you want to have your residency. The important thing is that you only vote in one location. So to be registered in two places, and that happened to me after we moved back from Georgia. A couple years later, after I was already elected to county commissioner, I get something. Do you still want to vote in Georgia? And you think about it, is that you're worried about shutting off your power and your water. You don't think I have to notify the supervisor of elections.
I'm sure nobody does.
And,
I'd be surprised.
Right. Or you think that when you register in your other state, they're going to notify you. And we do
Right.
get that sometimes. So being registered in two places, not necessarily against the law. Voting in
voting
two
in two
places is against the law. And that's really where I also say that for us, our work really begins on election night. Because we're making sure that over the next few weeks before we send the voters who have voted in that election to the state. That's why it's so important that we get it right. You and I, when we go in, we get our ballot, we vote it, we return it, and we're finished. It's amazing how many people will walk in and get their ballot and they say, "Oh, I have to go do something else real quick," and just run out. And so they haven't returned their ballot, or they say, "Oh, I'll have to come back later." And so we have to figure out who that voter was because they haven't cast their ballot necessarily. And we want to, again, make sure that we have an accurate representation on who has voted in Escambia County. As I go back to that organized chaos, and that our election workers are great, but they're human. They sometimes make mistakes. As you say, they only work 1 or 2 days a year on election days. And so we try to limit those mistakes. That's where we have our training and everything. But we've had it to where somebody's come in and the voter in front of them needed assistance with changing their address, and that voter got checked in under the previous voter. We go back through and one, we made sure we counted the original voter whose record showed that she had already voted. But two, we have to find who that second person was and give them that voting history to show that they voted in that election, and we're able to do that with the signature that they had on the ticket and things like that. So really it is important that we have that accurate information that we're sending to the state, because again, that's what they'll use if another state contacts them and says, "Hey, did Robert vote in the 2020 election, 2024 election?" We can say, "No, he didn't. Yes, he did." And well, he voted here too. Well, that's when we're going to turn that over to election crimes and security, which again, I think Florida's leading the way in our election crimes and security, and actually having someone that we can turn that type of information over to be investigated and prosecuted. And so once we have that, we again, so it is breaking the law.
It just wouldn't be worth it. That would just be so ridiculous.
Well, it's not like it's something that
for one vote,
but then that history remains there. We keep that voting history, and so you may not get caught during that election, but that's not to say there's not going to be a knock on your door 1, 2, 5 years later and says, "Hey, you voted twice in this election," and so so yes, don't vote twice.
Right.
But let's talk about this though. Is that so? We have our vote by mail ballots. We have a way to track and see if your vote by mail ballot's been received. You can also call the office, 859-595-3900, and say, "Hey, I mailed my ballot in last week. Has it been received?" If it hasn't, we'll tell you. You can go, if you can go vote early, if you can go vote on election day. We want to make sure that your voice is heard, right? And so if that ballot subsequently comes in, we're going to see that you've already voted in person. We're going to set the ballot aside so it doesn't get counted twice. And again, so we're saying, yes, do what you can to make sure that your voice is heard, your vote counts. Take all steps necessary. And then again, because of the online system that we have with voter registration and showing who's voting in real time, that we can see that you've already voted, and we don't count that twice. And same thing, you can't go from the main library and then go downtown to my office and try to vote again. It's going to show you've already voted. So we have a number of independent systems that we work from on election day. One of those being our eVids, which is our voter registration database to see who's voted. And the other thing we do is that prior to election day, we print out voter rolls so that, say power goes out, we don't have access to anything, we can start signing it in the old way on paper, but it also shows who's already had a vote by mail ballot counted, who's already early voted, and so we do that in between early voting and election day. And so, but again, same thing. If you somehow tried to take advantage of that, here's your signature saying that you're voting at the precinct, and when we actually go back and input that, we're going to say, wait, they voted by mail and then they voted at the on the precinct. So again, not a large issue that we have, but again, we have things in place to catch those.
So what about deceased individuals and family members who request mail-in ballots for them and vote for somebody who's deceased? Is that, I mean, I'm sure it has happened at some point.
So again, I still remember this in the presidential preference primary. Somebody mailed their ballot in. A couple days later, they passed away, and then we got the death notice, and so when we went to process it, it was already showing that the person was deceased. But at that point, we looked and see what the date of death was and what maybe the postmark is or something like that, when it was actually received by our office, to determine if we count that vote or not. Because just as if somebody went and voted early, it's just like on election day, you vote, you put it in the tabulator, your vote's counted at that point. If you go out in the parking lot and die, I don't go back in and try to pull out your ballot because you died before election day. Your ballot's been cast. They do the same thing with deceased. If that postmark is on there before the date of death, then we do count it.
And so, do you double check the deceased with the state?
We do. We get that weekly, and so we have people that will call or send us death certificates, and we say thank you.
I'm sure a lot of people don't send you their death because, like you said, it's like the supervisor of elections is probably one of the last things you think of changing once the big changes.
But we do have that good working relationship with Vital Statistics
to
get that information from the state. And so again, usually within a few days to a week of that death certificate being issued, we're being notified, and we're putting them on the removing them from the voter rolls. But again, the thing is, though, is that date of death doesn't change, and the day of the election doesn't change. And so if we come across a record where, and again, I have not seen one of those yet, where somebody voted after they died, but if they do, then we would turn that over to the authorities to investigate, and they're probably going to be looking at who had access to that ballot and who signed it. But I will say, though, is that we go through training for signature verification, and so we usually catch those on the front end as well. They don't even get to the opening part, and so. But again, if that signature doesn't match, we don't open that ballot. We don't. People like to put notes in there sometimes, and I say, I'm sorry, we can't open that envelope because it has a ballot in there.
So, what changes are going on at the Supervisor of Elections? Are there like new machines? Is there a new building in the works?
Sure.
Like what kind of changes are going on?
So I'll talk about more of the elections and everything like that. So we did make some vote by mail enhancements. So we did two things to that. One, the little barcode, the intelligent mail barcode that's on the bottom, we have a unique number in each of those that we tie back to the voter number, so that we can get some tracking information within the USPS system to see, maybe when the ballot's scheduled to be delivered. If it hasn't gotten delivered, where it might be stuck, things like that. Because before, we would just put it in the mail, and then you knew when you got it, and we didn't know what happened in between. So we have some transparency with the USPS.
Does each voter have a number?
Yes. So it's a unique number for each mail piece that we have on there.
Okay, it's for the mail piece, and it's tied to the person who requested it.
Correct. So it's on the header envelope, which is which has your mailing address to be mailed to, and that's on the front of your envelope that has your voter information on the back. That again, we can track it as it comes back in. But Once we open that envelope and take the ballot out, we aren't able to associate the ballot with the name or anything like that. So that's why we do a lot of that work on the front end. And again, making sure that the ballot's accepted, because once you open it and take the ballot out, there's no saying, oh no, that one doesn't count.
Is it just a random number? Is it a different number every time?
It is. It's a random number, and it's a different number every time. And so we have a new scanner that we have that will scan the return envelopes. It captures the front and the back, finds that IMB number on the front, finds the voter information on the back, and links the two so that we put it into a database to be able to track it.
So it's on the envelope and on the ballot.
It's not on the ballot.
It's not on the ballot.
Just on the envelopes, on the envelopes and that header sheet for the outbound envelope. Yep. So we have that. We also put, I call it post-it yellow on the back half of the envelope, make it easier for the USPS to spot them in amongst all the other
so
mail
they know
pieces.
where it goes.
And they said it's working out really well. So at George Street is our business reply mail unit. And so she just flips the tray around and starts looking for that yellow and pulls out the ballots for us to collect at the end of each day. So that's been great for there. I think it also helps the voter highlight the area in red where they need to have that signature, so it's yellow all the way down to that red box, and so hopefully it helps them remember that's where they need to sign. So that's our vote by mail. We also included vote by mail, I voted stickers in vote by mail packets. That's the first time we've done that. We have a third sheet of paper. A couple of them came back with the ballots, so be on the lookout for it. We have a commemorative I voted sticker this year celebrating America 250.
Cool.
Even a little arrow pointing to it that says this is your I voted sticker.
Collector piece.
Yes. And then we do have some new equipment. So when you check in early on election day, we have our new eVids. So we're again on our second generation of electronic voter registration check-ins. Same ones that we used for early voting for a number of years, but the other ones were end of life, and so we've upgraded those. We're seeing a more success rate when they try to scan their ID, that the voter pops up. So that's good for that, and I think voters will, again, they shouldn't see anything different because we grab the signature pads off the old ones for them to use, and then that way they can adjust it. It'd be very similar to probably what they used at the DMV when they did their signature. And also I've heard that it's nice that they can see what they've already done on it. It gives you that trace, showing you what you've already signed, so I hear they appreciate that. But then, yes, we are also trying to get a new building for the supervisor's office. So right now, the warehouse on Navy Boulevard, which is where we do our training, it's where we process the vote by mail and sort of the election night core. It's where we hold all of our files and a lot of things we have to retain for 22 months in terms of ballots and things like that. And then where we store all of our machines, and then also our permanent records. And I'd say we're out of space in each one of those facets. So small training rooms. We don't really have any office space for the staff. The area, we've added things since we acquired that building, like our independent audit that has scanners and computers, that we also need to find a process on how to scan those ballots after they've gone through tabulation. So that room's become very tight. Again, we do our inserting ourselves for that mail out of the vote by mail ballots, and so to have an area to do that would be good. We've also started delivering the equipment ourselves. We save about $10,000 each election by doing it ourselves. So the facility we're looking at now has loading docks, so we can easily roll them on and off trucks, because we have big cages that we have a lot of the information for election day is sort of all the envelopes and things like that the election workers need to run the election day. They're in these big cages that we have, and so we're even out of space to, if we needed to expand precincts to where we give them another one of those cages, we're out of room to hold cages. We've expanded some of our ballot on demand printing for election day. We have at some of our sites where we have two locations, or rather two precincts at the same location, to make it, again, not that we have a problem with it, but to make sure that the voter gets the right ballot style. We're printing it on demand like we do for early vote. And so, but printers and print carts and things like that, those all take up space. And then we have our tabulators, which, again, I know a lot of people have asked, like, can't you just stack those? Well, we do preventative maintenance where we have somebody come in and manage all of them.
Well, they're kind of bulky and heavy.
Bulky,
you can't stack those.
Well,
It's
no,
not like
they're
it's not like a
over
shoe.
$10,000 a piece.
Well, it's not like a shoebox that you take off a top
Correct.
shelf. It's a big machine. That's
It's a
not
big
really a
machine.
good idea to
It
stack
has
them.
the brains of the
Yeah.
brains of the equipment in there, and so I've been to a number of other warehouses across the state and they're all spread out like that.
Yeah.
Because again, when you have to go through and test all of them,
Right.
you don't want to have to put some of them up, bring some of them down. Again, we just
No,
completed
that
our
would
logic
just
and
be-
accuracy test, and so we randomly select 10 machines to be tested, and so you want to make sure you have easy access to that. But again, we're in there servicing the machines, testing them prior to the election, prior to our public testing, and then we have to access them all after election day because we do keep them in their state in case there's any issue, things like that. Then you have to go through and wipe them clean and get them ready for the next election. So. Of course, if there was a way we could retain in that same location, I would love to, but it really gives us the opportunity to again have enough room for every facet of what you do at that location. Gets us out of a flood zone, and especially as we usually do elections around hurricane time. And then so what we're looking at is right behind public safety and partnering with that again. Have the warehouse a little bit bigger than we need, and public safety needs some warehouse space, and looking to share it with another county entity. So I think it would be a great win. So hopefully we can bring that in for landing, but probably not going to be able to do that for finish it with this election cycle, just because we don't want to be moving a lot of sensitive equipment.
Oh, right. During an
before the
election. No, right.
Yes, you want to make sure everything's set and
Yeah.
ready, and then as soon as the election's done, we'll start getting ready for 28.
So on election night, and all of the precincts have the tabulators there. Is that what they're called, the tabulators?
Tabulators, yeah.
Okay. Who takes them back to the warehouse, and how do they get there, and what's the deadline for getting them there?
Sure.
And are the paper ballots still inside those tabulators?
Perfect. Yep. So number one is that any voted ballot we want to get in our possession as quickly as possible. So whether it be on early voting or on election night, any voted ballot is coming back to us that night.
So on early voting, there's like 3 or 4 days of early voting. Do the paper ballots have to be turned to your office each night?
We do.
Okay.
That's part of our security protocols that we have in place. So
And
that
they put them in a locked box
They-
and
they
just take
Yep.
care of the box?
Yep. So and so we have again people from 2 different parties doing that each night.
Yeah.
And so and we have 2 different things. So we have people that bring the USB stick back, and then we have people that bring the ballots back. And we don't want those to be in the same car, because if something
Okay.
would happen to them, then everything's in one car. So that's
Okay.
why. So the USB sticks have the results on them. They also modem the results to us on election night, so that we can get that out to the public a little bit quicker.
Okay.
But again, we still go off of what's on that stick, and then we get the possession of the paper ballots. We still run those through our independent audit system, and then we compare that after the election to the results on the tabulator. So every ballot does get run through an independent system to
At the
verify
warehouse.
and validate the results at our warehouse. So-
And you do it as they come in. You don't just if there's enough time, if you have
Right.
50,000 boxes, you obviously can't do
So
it.
for vote by mail, we do it as we process the vote by mail, and then
Okay.
it's all one fell swoop, and we box it. For early vote, we'll usually do it over the next day or 2 after those come back. And then election day, we'll do it a day or 2 after the election. I mean, we have all 80 precincts to work through, so it's a lot. But yes, we get those done as quickly as possible so we can see if there are any anomalies or anything like that.
How many machines do you have at the warehouse that you do that audit with?
We have 2.
So
And
that's
so it's just 2 scanners, and so
that's just
we
an
have a
ongoing.
relatively small staff.
Takes a long
We only
time.
have 15 full-time staff, and that's everybody from warehouse and IT to voter services and social media and training. So very small staff. We do get some temporary workers to help us through it, but so that's what we're doing. But we were talking about right before that. We were talking about again, we opened a little over, I think, 4,200 ballots yesterday. We've had 5,700 that we've already been processed and accepted, and then with the early vote, all that's already ready to go on election night. So I'm required within 30 minutes after the election closes at 7 p.m. to push out the vote by mail results and the early vote results.
Okay.
In November of 24, that was 70% of the vote. So within minutes of the polls closing at 7 p.m., we had 70% of Escambia County's vote up and available. Over the next 35 minutes, we had 77 of the 80 precincts send their results. We got those posted on the website. So again, 35 minutes after the election, probably 99% of the votes are
It's called by then.
right.
Because there's no way it's going to change.
Right, not with such a small number, but again, you might have a really tight race.
If it's really tight.
And
yeah.
so
You could
you
win
know,
by
but-
one.
But once and so we get everything back on election night. Again, any voted ballot we're going to have in our possession on election night. And then any last minute vote by mail. So those vote by mails that came in right at 7 p.m. Maybe again, the USPS does a great job at trying to go through the mail from that day and getting it to us by 7 p.m. because it has to be in my possession by 7 p.m. So we don't leave until we get those processed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, with the early voting at the precincts with the paper ballots,
Yep.
you walk in and you do it, and it's counted in the tabulator. And on election day on November 4th, was it 3rd or 4th?
November 3rd for general.
For the
August
general.
18th for the primary.
You walk in on that day, or for the early voting, and then those tabulators are sent, or at least the boxes for early voting every night are sent back to you, and so they're essentially counted twice by
Yes.
machines.
Yes.
What about mail-in ballots? How many times are those counted?
So same thing too.
Twice,
So
okay.
they go through a high-speed tabulator. You know, we talked
Okay.
earlier about filling in the oval,
Yeah.
making sure you fill it in completely. And so when they go through those high-speed tabulators,
It knocks out the ones that aren't filled out properly?
it will. It will let us know if it can't be read, if there's an overvote, if it's a completely blank ballot, because we want to make sure that there's not another issue. If it can't be read, something like that, it'll outstack it. All the ones that can be read go to another outstack.
And then it goes to the second
And
machine.
then it goes to the independent audit machine.
Okay.
And so it gets read in
Okay.
twice. So everything gets read in twice. And again, when we do our audit, we're only required when we do an automated audit like we're doing, 20% of the precincts, and so that would be 16 precincts. You look at every race on the ballot from those 16. Escambia County, as well as a number of other states around the state that are using this software and program, they'll actually do 100%, right? Because when I'm scanning those ballots in, I don't know which 16 precincts I'm going to end up choosing when we do our audit.
Okay.
And so I've already scanned all the ballots in, and if I've already done the legwork, I might as well look at the result for all of them. And again, what we've seen across Florida, over 99.99% accuracy. Where we are seeing some discrepancies between the two systems is when people don't fill in that oval properly. So maybe
one
they use an
machine
X.
one machine might read it on one oval, and the other machine won't read it, or it'll read it on another oval.
It'll read it. It's
So
usually
there's a
reading it
discrepancy.
as an undervote,
Sure.
not versus
Yeah.
reading. Not counting for you and then counting for me. It's usually one reads it as an undervote, one reads it as a vote for the candidate.
Right.
And so that's where we see some of this. So as I say, that's where we get into that less than 0.01% discrepancy between the two systems. And you'd probably say if I said there was 100% match between two independent systems, you'd probably have more questions about how they achieved that. But of course, that's what we want to strive for. But again, it's really to make sure that the tabulator has done its job properly, and that those have been recorded properly. And again, having over that 99.99% accuracy does show that an independent system has validated the votes that we've put out as our results.
Exactly. So if there's any discrepancy, it's because of human error, really, because they don't know how to fill in the oval.
Yes, I would say yes.
How could anybody not know how to fill in the oval? I mean,
Yeah.
so I grew up in Escambia County School District, and I think the schools here are very good, especially the elementary schools, or at least the one I went to. They taught us a lot. They taught us a lot about daily life. I mean, we knew how to fill in an oval. We did it all the time.
Well, we're including in a lot of our material the sample ballots. At the bottom of the sample ballot, we do have a mark your oval properly with it completely filled in and saying that's the correct way to do it. Putting
And
an
not
X
with
through
an
it,
X,
a check
not
mark.
underlining
Right.
not circling it.
Correct. So, and I will say this though, is that if somebody does that and the vote is not counted
By the machine.
by the machine, and it does get outstacked to us,
Uh-huh.
the canvassing board, which is a
They'll
county
see
judge,
what the person
myself, and
intended.
somebody, right? We do look at voter intent and try to determine that. If we can't, we don't count the vote.
Yeah.
But if we can determine the voter intent, and sometimes when they make a mistake, they'll put an X through it,
Yeah.
and then we can clearly see that they didn't mean to vote for that, and so we make sure that their vote does count for their choice.
Yeah. I did volunteer to do the audit when Governor DeSantis and Andrew Gillum had the
recount.
The
Yes.
recount. Yeah,
Yes.
I was part of the
Three
recount.
recounts in 2018.
Yeah. That was fun. I actually loved working at the Supervisor of Elections that day. I had a good time, and because I like comparing things, I guess. So I was really good at it, and I loved doing it. So I would actually love to work at your office.
We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. But I
I'd be
think-
good at it.
But if you look at that, think about it, we had 3 statewide recounts in 2018. And even when you take those ballots and run them through the machine again,
Yes, it's going to kick them out, and it's because of the way people
correct.
circled their answer.
But even then, the results didn't change a lot.
No.
You know,
Right.
and again, you do end up looking at your overvotes and undervotes, and that's what I tell voters is that if you make a mistake, it may not be counted right now, but if the race is so close that we end up looking at those overvotes and undervotes, and we're able to clearly see your voter intent, then we will assign the vote to the candidate that you've chosen. So we actually have Jennifer Breyer, who's on the canvassing board this year, and I was on the canvassing board
She's
when
city
she
council.
won. She's city council, but I was on the canvassing board in 2020 when she won. On election night, there was a 5-vote difference, so that took us to the recount. Still a 5-vote difference, so then we had to look at overvotes and undervotes. And there were 2 overvotes that they had clearly indicated a vote for PC. And I remember David Stafford showing her, and she goes, "Yes, that's a vote for him." She ended up winning by 3 votes. I mean, those were the only 2 that changed from the results being tabulated. And again, we see that when we do these recounts, either statewide or just on a local race, the results aren't changing from what we have. But again, we have that automated independent system that we can also look at. And what I really like about it is that it will show you the most confident vote or the least confident vote. So you can somewhat focus on where that discrepancy may occur between the 2 systems. And usually that's we figure it out.
It was so nice having you on the show.
I appreciate it. It's been great. I just want to encourage everybody to vote August 18th. Everybody in Escambia County has a ballot to vote, whether it be the countywide referendum, mayor, school district, or one of your partisan choices. Encourage everybody to get out and vote and see how high we can get that turnout.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. This is the 3rd time you've been on the show, and I'm sure I'll have you on again.
I look forward to it. I'll have to do it again before November.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. So the Thornton Review is on the air to provide public service awareness and intellectual infrastructure to our community. This show is made possible by Larry Downs Jr. Plumbing, Alpha Fence Company, Ida Gates Godly Teas, and our guest, Robert Bender, Escambia County Supervisor of Elections. And we want to thank you for watching this episode of the Thornton Review. And bye-bye.